E hono re he kororia he maungārongo ki runga ki te matua te whenua. E whakaro pai ki ngā tangata katoa. Aro haina ngā teina me ngā tuakana e noho nei i rungi te whakaro o tahi. Pai mai.
Thank you, everyone. Please take a seat. I ngā mana, i ngā reo, i ngā iwi o ngā hoe whā. Tēnei aku mihi mahana ki a koutou. Kia ora tātou katoa. Nau mai, haere mai, ki te whare kawana. I specifically acknowledge the Honourable Pini Henare, Minister of the Crown, a kuia Pui Wahine Tibu, a kaumātua Joe Harawera. Tēnā koutou. And I offer a very special welcome to today's honour recipients. Today we bring together 14 honour recipients along with their whānau and friends to recognise the contributions they've made to our country. As Governor-General, I have the honour and the privilege on behalf of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, the Queen of New Zealand, to hold an investiture for her and to confer royal honours, our nation's highest honours, on individuals who've made exceptional contributions to their communities and our nation. Hosting an investiture ceremony is one of the most important duties I perform as Governor-General, as it enables me to recognise and thank them on behalf of all New Zealanders for helping to make Aotearoa New Zealand a better place to live. Some recipients have a national public profile, others will be well known in their particular communities. But what they have in common is the positive impact they've made on the economic, environmental, social or cultural well-being of our nation. I hope this will be a memorable day for you and for your whānau and friends who have come to witness your investiture and celebrate with you. Ladies and gentlemen, as each recipient comes forward, I invite you to join me in thanking them and congratulating them for their service to our country. And now Catriona McLeod will read citations for each recipient and invite them to come forward to receive their insignia.
Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of a member of the Order of New Zealand, Professor Emeritus Sir Mason Durie of Fielding for services to New Zealand. Sir Mason Durie, over more than 40 years, has been at the forefront of a transformational approach to Māori health and has played major roles in building the Māori health workforce. Sir Mason has also championed higher education for Māori. He has provided national academic leadership for Māori and Indigenous development in roles as Deputy Chair of Te Wānanga o Raukawa, Professor of Māori Research and Development, and as Deputy Vice-Chancellor at Massey University until 2012. He remains Emeritus Professor of Māori Research and Development at Massey University. His accomplishments include gaining funding to establish a Centre for Māori Health Research, Te Pūmanawa Hawora, and negotiating the Māori Mental Health Programme, Te Rau Puawai, which provides up to 100 scholarships annually for students studying health-related subjects. He served on the boards of Te Papa Tongarewa, the Museum of New Zealand, and the Foundation for Research, Science and Technology. He's been chair of the Guardians Group for the Secondary Futures Project and a commissioner for the New Zealand Families Commission. He chaired the Ministerial Task Force on Whānau Ora and was chair of Te Kahui Amukura, a standing committee of the New Zealand Vice-Chancellor's Committee. As chair of the Palmerston North-based Tutoa Trust, Mason helped establish 2 new secondary schools in Palmerston North. His efforts have been recognised by the Royal Australian and New Zealand College of Psychiatrists, the Public Health Association of New Zealand, the Māori Medical Practitioners Association, the Thoracic Society of Australia and New Zealand, and the Polynesian Society. Sir Mason was appointed in 2019 as one of 3 inaugural Ruanuku by Naipa o Maramatanga, New Zealand's Māori Centre of Research Excellence, and received the Blake Medal in 2017. Professor Emeritus Sir Mason Durie, please come forward. Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of a Companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Distinguished Professor Philipa Hardin Chapman of Wellington for services to public health. Distinguished Professor Philipa Hardin Chapman is co-director of He Kainga Ora Housing and Health Research Programme, which examines the links between poor housing and ill health. She has collaborated on several research publications and has conducted housing trials that have significantly influenced New Zealand's housing, health, and energy policy. She chaired the World Health Organization Housing and Health Guideline Development Group and was a member of the Children's Commissioner's Expert Advisory Group on Solutions to Child Poverty. She is a professor of public health at the University of Otago, Wellington, where she teaches public policy. Professor Hardin Chapman is director of the New Zealand Centre for Sustainable Cities, chair of the International Science Council Urban Health and Wellbeing Committee, and a director on the board of Kainga Ora Homes and Communities. Distinguished Professor Philipa Hardin Chapman, please come forward. Mr. Murray McCormick of Auckland for services to health, particularly surgery. Murray McCormick has been a surgeon for 45 years, specialising in breast cancer and vascular surgery. He's worked as a tutor, consultation surgeon, and clinical director of general surgery at Auckland Hospital. He is an honorary senior lecturer in the Department of Surgery at the University of Auckland. He founded the first multidisciplinary service for the management of breast cancer in Auckland and led the establishment of breast screening in Northland. He was a pioneer of renal transplant surgery in New Zealand. He was a board member and chair of the New Zealand Cancer Society and the Cancer Society Auckland Northland Division. He is a trustee of the Society's Auckland Northland Division Endowment Trust. Mr. McCormick is chair of the Credentialising Committee at Mercy Ascot Hospital. Mr. Murray McCormick, please come forward. Your Excellency, to be a companion of the Queen's Service Order, Mr. Francis Fanning of Wellington for services to the community. Francis Fanning organised the Sisters of Compassion's annual Street Day Appeal raffle fundraiser for more than 20 years. He volunteered for many years with Wellington's Compassion Soup Kitchen and the Wellington Night Shelter. He joined the Soup Kitchen's Board of Management and later became chair, leading the Soup Kitchen's growth to provide other support functions, including emergency, transitional, and long-term housing, assistance with social welfare, employment, and mental and physical health services. He chairs Compassion Housing, which oversees 92 social housing units in Upper Hutt. He was instrumental in a joint venture with Willis Bond to purchase the social housing stock of Horowhenua District Council, bringing the total properties to 209. Mr. Fanning is a member of the Wellington South Rotary Club and has served 3 terms as president. Mr. Francis Fanning of Wellington, please come forward. Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of an Officer of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Mr. Grant Crothers of Wellington, for services to Tokelau and the fishing industry. Mr. Grant Crothers worked as the Deputy Chief Executive and Acting Chief Executive of the Ministry of Fisheries in New Zealand. Upon retirement, he began pro bono work in the Pacific Islands to ensure small island countries could reap sustainable outcomes from their fisheries resources. In 2009-10, he started working with and advising the parties to the Nauru Fishing Agreement, or PNA, and Tokelau. He helped to develop the Tokelau Fisheries Policy, which enabled Tokelau to join the PNA. He was involved in progressing the 2015 Tokelau Fisheries reforms that led to the establishment of the Fisheries Management Agency in Tokelau. He guided the passage of regulatory amendments to the Tokelau Fisheries Regulations 2018-19. Mr. Crothers' input has helped grow the Tokelau fisheries sector from $1 million to $20 million annually. Mr. Grant Crothers, please come forward. Mr. Peter Elliott of Auckland for services to the performing arts and baseball. Mr. Peter Elliott has been active in theatre, film and television since the 1980s as an actor, presenter, writer and advocate for industry workers. He's been involved in creating more than 60 television dramas, more than a dozen documentaries and more than 70 plays, musicals and operas. He's appeared in Shortland Street, Gloss, and Peter Jackson's Heavenly Creatures. He has been a committee member for Actors Equity and has served on the boards of Equity New Zealand, Mixit and Baseball New Zealand. He was a member of Central City Baseball Club in Auckland, where he was vice president, and contributed to the development of the Auckland Tuatara, New Zealand's first professional baseball team. Mr. Elliott has worked with city councils to allocate parkland for baseball fields. Mr. Peter Elliott, please come forward. Dr. Janet Irvine of Rotorua for Services to Women and Women's Health. Dr. Janet Irvine was a general practitioner for 36 years in Rotorua before retiring. Her medical interests included obstetrics and other aspects of women's health, quality assurance, and general practitioner assessment. She worked with the Rotorua Police to establish a service for victims of sexual assault and was involved with the National Doctors for Sexual Abuse Care. She has been a member of the Zonta Club of Rotorua since 1981 and served as president. She served on the District New Zealand Board, including a term as district governor. She led the project supporting the Sophie Elliott Foundation's Loves Me Not program. She is a member of the New Zealand Women's Empowerment Principles Committee. Dr. Irvine is co-president of the Friends of Rotorua Museum of Art and History. Dr. Janet Irvine, please come forward. Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Mrs. Patricia Broad of Dunedin for services to gymnastics. Patricia Broad established and has been head coach of St Bernadette's Gymnastics Club since 1964, which now has more than 100 members and offers training 5 days a week. She has had a long-standing involvement with St Bernadette's School and holds weekly classes to help junior school pupils experience gymnastics. She has coached a number of gymnasts who have represented Otago in the New Zealand Gymnastics Championships. She has been a judge for Gymnastics New Zealand since 1977 and attained her international judge qualification in 2006. Mrs. Broad regularly judged at national competitions for more than 25 years and continues to judge at a number of South Island competitions. Mrs. Patricia Broad, please come forward. Mrs. Michelle Crook of Cambridge for services to the community. Michelle Crook led fundraising for a Gallipoli exhibition in Tauranga and for New Zealand's first beach mat for wheelchair access at Mount Maunganui Beach. She organised several Colour Dash fundraising events for Ronald McDonald House in Auckland. She funded and mentored the establishment of Step Changes, which assists companies to improve their corporate social responsibility programs. She was trustee and secretary for the Papamoa Community Surf Rescue Base Trust, chairperson of Creative Bay of Plenty, and chairperson of Breast Cancer Support Services Tauranga Trust. Mrs. Crook has fundraised for Alzheimer's Tauranga Western Bay of Plenty and is project lead, new build, for Takitimu House, Tauranga Moana Men's Night Shelter Trust. Mrs. Michelle Crook, please come forward. Mr. Sam Judd of Auckland for services to the environment and sustainability education. Sam Judd founded and was CEO of Sustainable Coastlines, a charity which coordinates coastal and beach cleanup events, as well as public awareness campaigns and educational programs. He was instrumental in bringing together 144 organizations and 2,000 people for the construction of the flagship education centre, through which Sustainable Coastlines educates New Zealanders on how to protect their environment. He's delivered more than 200 days of work with offenders on conservation projects and collaborated with prisons to develop opportunities for employment pathways. He was the founding chairperson of Puniu River Care, which employs 30 local rangatahi Māori and produces more than 500,000 native seedlings annually for restoration projects. Mr. Sam Judd, please come forward. Miss Diane Smayhoyston of Dunedin for services to brass bands. Diane Smayhoyston was the first female president of the Brass Band Association of New Zealand. She previously served as vice president and as a life member. She has been treasurer of Canterbury Provincial Brass Bands and vice president and president of Otago and Southland Brass Band Associations. She's organised and undertaken the catering of youth brass band camps. She has been the project coordinator of the Brass Bands Association Oral History Project and remains on the team. She has held administrative roles in several local bands, as well as playing for these bands. Ms. Smayhoyston was active in netball as a player, umpire, administrator and coach. Ms. Diane Smayhoyston, please come forward. Your Excellency, to receive the Queen's Service Medal, Mrs. Yvonne Boyz of Ohope for services to health, particularly nursing and cancer treatment. Yvonne Boyz was an oncology nurse, Director of Nursing at Waipuna Hospice and Ngātiawa Health Clinical Lead. She was Deputy Chair of the Project Hope Fundraising Committee, overseeing the completion of the Project Hope Cancer Treatment Centre building. She served on the Cancer Control Council and was a primary nurse educator for the Eastern Bay of Plenty Primary Health Alliance. She helped develop the Rural Health Interprofessional Programme in the Eastern Bay of Plenty and is the academic coordinator. Mrs. Boyz fundraised for the Renal Centre in Tauranga and is a member of the Bay of Plenty Child Health Trust. Mrs. Yvonne Boyz, please come forward. Mr. Bill Berdot of Ruatoria for services to the community and local government. Bill Berdot was Secretary of the Manga Hanea Marae and the Uipohatu Marae and has served on the Whakarua Park Board. He chaired the Te Pua Waitanga o Ruatoria Community Trust. He has held several positions with the Ruatoria Rugby Club, including President, and with the Ruatoria Rugby Sub-Union. He is a Gisborne District Councillor and a Waiapu Matakawa Councillor. He helped unite the Gisborne District Council and Te Runanga Nui o Ngāti Porou on the Kuka Huhua project to fight erosion on the Waiapu River. Mr. Berdot has chaired several local government committees and was a trustee of Ngāti Porou Runanga Iwi. Mr. Bill Berdot, please come forward. Mr. Michael Drake of Taupo for services to education and the community. Michael Drake has taught social studies and history at Taupo Nui Atia College and held the roles of Senior Dean and Senior Advisory Team Member. He developed the college's innovative enhanced learning program and has mentored staff and students. He is currently the school archivist and chairs the subcommittee overseeing the Alumni Fund. He is a parish organist at St Andrew's Anglican Church in Taupo. He was one of 2 founding members of the Taupo Coast Guard, where he gave more than 45 years of service. Mr. Drake wrote a navigation book on Lake Taupo that has become a standard reference guide. Mr. Michael Drake, please come forward. Your Excellency, the investiture has concluded.
Our honours system is our nation's highest public affirmation of outstanding individual achievement. It reinforces values and behaviours that sustain our communities and help our nation thrive and prosper. And these include service, courage, manaakitanga, and the pursuit of knowledge and excellence. By using their talents to make ours a better society, whether by service to their communities or by their leadership in diverse fields of endeavour, or their commitment to excellence in their particular field of expertise, our recipients have set a fine example. Today, Sir Mason Durie has joined a select group of 20 living New Zealanders who have been recognised with our nation's highest honour, the Order of New Zealand. The mana of Sir Mason's achievement is recognised by the distinguished whakapapa of the insignia I presented to him today. It was first held by the Bishop of Aotearoa, the Right Reverend Manuhuia Bennett, followed by the former Governor-General, the Honourable Sir Paul Reeves, and most recently by the artist Ralph Hotere. To all of today's recipients, it has been a real privilege to hear your stories today. You have demonstrated determination, commitment and compassion in your daily lives. In your own way, each of you is contributing to the well-being of our people and our nation. In some cases, your influence and the positive impact of your work has extended beyond our shores. Your actions and the stories we've heard remind me of the words of another great New Zealander, the late Sir Paul Callaghan, who said, "What greater sense of fulfilment can there be but to make a difference to the community in which you live? It's hard to make a difference in New York. Here, everything you contribute makes a visible difference." On behalf of all New Zealanders, I thank you for the difference you have made in helping to make Aotearoa New Zealand a better place to live, whether by dedicating your lives to the public good, achieving distinction in your chosen field, or inspiring others with your leadership. Please wear your insignia with pride, knowing that your contributions are recognised and valued, and others are inspired by your example. Kia ora whiwhi tātou katoa. Thank you, everyone. That almost brings to a close the formal part of today's ceremony. But before we break for refreshments, I'd like to ask you to stand and join me in singing our national anthem.